Website Treatment Wikicom presents mesothelioma and asbestosis. Pleural mesothelioma symptoms. Why it is difficult to determine the pleural mesothelioma symptoms? Cancer of the pleura. Pleural mesothelioma is a malignant tumor that occurs in people who work with asbestosis 1,000 times more frequently than in the general population. The histological diagnosis of malignant pleural mesothelioma, in spite of the presence of various histochemical techniques, quite complex, and in 15% of cases to the differential diagnosis of metastatic adenocarcinoma of the impossible. Currently, the diagnosis of pleural mesothelioma is a collection of clinical, especially on the results of visual and endoscopic methods of research, and the pathological anatomical picture, delayed onset and late diagnosis often an operable stage, and the relative resistance to radiation and chemotherapy leads to the fact that pleural mesothelioma is a tumor disease is difficult to treat and have a poor prognosis. With our relative powerlessness in the treatment of these tumors is expected to increase in the incidence in the next decade. Pleural mesothelioma symptoms. Diagnostics. The diagnosis of malignant pleural mesothelioma remains a challenge for clinicians and pathologists. The correct diagnosis can be made only with the close collaboration of both doctors as a combination of clinical, radiological, endoscopic and histological studies. Pleural mesothelioma symptoms. History. Professional history with clinical suspicion of malignant mesothelioma of the pleura is of great importance, given the long latency period between exposure and manifestation of the tumor, an average of 35 years. The doctor has to exercise detective skills. The excess of asbestos-containing products is difficult to account. Mandatory labeling was introduced only in the late 70s. We have to figure out the working conditions and the potential for toxicity when working with asbestos cement and weakly related to asbestos fibers, because until the mid-70s the use of these materials has been prescribed to isolate the vent pipes and steel structures. Pleural mesothelioma symptoms. The clinical picture. Clinical symptoms are not typical and is of little help in diagnosis. In the early stages of the disease is relatively rare. Only 15% of patients have such symptoms as fatigue, weakness, weight loss. The most frequent symptoms include dyspnea with subtle start in 75% of cases and the growing harder for chest pain. In contrast to the benign asbestos pleurisy, chest pain does not go away when a pleural effusion. Nearly 75% have a dry cough.